just love talking to fascinating people. I'm curious. I love learning the milestones, the stepping stones, the secrets to success, the stories of resiliency, hearing about people's passion, what makes them driven, what makes them get up. So today, I am so honored to have with me Maria Dowd. We have quite a history. A couple of years ago, she spoke at my Women on the Grow conference, and everybody loved her. But my relationship goes deeper than that. People can tell you all the time, you have no idea you changed my life. You're like, oh, really? And you just like brush it off. But this lady did change my life. And I know she probably doesn't realize it. And I know that what she was doing was to change thousands of women's lives. And because she said yes to me after I kept knocking on the door part of your conference, which was the African American Women on Tour. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much.
You're just a legend in my mind because you are a trailblazer. You had a phenomenal tour for 12 years, crisscrossing the country and then going to France and St. Kitts. And you allowed me to be a part of that whirlwind empowerment series. And Maria, I think if we had social media, then you would just be off the charts because you were already off the charts.
we were still on AOL when we got started.
I know. And people, they couldn't wait for the doors to open. They couldn't wait to shop with the vendors. They couldn't wait to hear the drummers and pour the libation and have their daughters go to rites of passage and sit at the feet of some iconic women. And I just salute you for being a trailblazer. And, as women, we all have different seasons in our lives. Mm-hmm. And so when that season ended, life kept going on and we learn and we grow and some of us change lanes. I've stayed in the same lane as a speaker and author. In fact, my first book was birthed during your conference, Sister Friends. That's right. And I know I probably would not have been invited to speak in London and Turks and Caicos. It was because of my connections through your conference. Mm-hmm. And that just kicked off so many other international speaking engagements. But the word empowerment is very much still a part of what drives you. So I would love for you to share with my audience today, Maria, who is Maria Dowd? What are you doing now?
Wowzy. Okay, that's a big question to start with. So I want to just, first of all, just thank you, Jewel. And it's so funny, I chuckle because you said 12 years and it's actually 13 years. But okay. That first year we had a different MC and it was like, then Jewel knocked again on the door and I opened the door, thank God. And in walked Jewel and her amazing sister Joy, and yes. It was on from that point on for 12 years, but 13 years total.
Yes.
So, I went on to we had obviously we produced over 60 conferences throughout the U.S. We had retreats overseas in Barbados and France, in in St. Kitts and Nevis. Mm-hmm. Right, St. Kitts and Nevis, and we just profoundly touched the lives of so many women, and even today. And this was, the very last conference was in the mid 2000s, on the heels, literally, of Hurricane Isabel, and from that point forward, I mean, it just without fail. Just about every week, someone's reaching out and just saying, you don't even know.
That's
you
right.
don't even know
That's
how this conference touched our lives. And I was just talking to a couple of mothers whose daughters attended the Girls' Rites of Passage program. And I said, I've never heard of, I've never gotten like a phone call or email or a little DM saying, I attended your Girls' Rites of Passage. And I know they're out there,
yes.
But those mothers are saying that you don't even know how that transformed my daughter's life. And she talks about it all the time. So that always, it's always a wonderful feel good. So after the last conference that I did, I went on to joined at the time it was Warm Spirit, which was actually a company that was launched at my conference.
I remember.
I was so being busy that it didn't even dawn on me to jump on board then, but I did for for 7 years, and so got into the wellness and the healthcare and the skincare products and the holistic healing, and it was just a perfect transition. And then when that company transitioned out, I went on to, what did I do after that? I mean, I've done a lot of different contracts.
And you wrote a book.
Have books, yeah. Exactly. And
raising your daughters.
Raising daughters. I have a grandson. You already know about the grandson deal. You're on that journey, and he just turned 9 a couple of months ago, and so that it's been an amazing journey. And so, but what kind of helped me to transition to where I am today was, number one, just kind of coming off of the heels of a divorce. And so, you kind of look back and say, oh my God, what am I going to do next? How am I going to move about in this world? Yes. What is it going to look like, feel like for me? But I had to also take a step back and to, take, full responsibility for the journey that journey, and where were my upsets and my breakdowns, and how could I, move into a more uplifted, elevated, enlightened space. And I went on to, I said, well, first of all, let me just quiet myself and just get into a little corner of my house, and just shut down and just really look at my entire life, every single area of my life, my emotional well-being, my physical well-being, my financial well-being, all the aspects of my life, and say, let me look and do a reality check and assess where the breakdowns were, where the signs and the learning, the lessons learned were, and how can I take that and move it into something grander. And so I went on to take that experience, and it took about 30 to 60 days, about 45 days to walk through and to really look at and take to peel back the onion layers and take a hard look at where I had landed, which was not in a very good space, by the way. So, and having to deal with the added irony of, at every turn, I attended African-American women on tour. And it was so wonderful. And it was like,
with my life.
And it's like, and I would say that there was a moment of this breakthrough where I was sitting in the audience of yet another great speaker, an amazing woman. And I'm looking at how the women were responding. I'm looking around. I said, this used to be me. I used to produce these conferences. Like, why am I sitting here in this audience, like, fighting tears? Yes. And so I literally got up, went to the bathroom, and I said, when I walk out of these doors, I need to run into somebody that I know that I can ask, how can I just be a part of this? Because I had really isolated myself from the women who love on you and nurture you and everything. And, I was in a toxic space in the relationship. And so when I walked out that door, there she was, a woman that I needed to see. She was literally standing right in front of the door.
Wow.
And I literally had to humble myself. I had to start a brand new path. And I started volunteering with this organization. And I was running down the aisles with the mics, and this is like square one versus having spent, 13 years producing these amazing empowerment conferences.
So you were at ground zero.
Ground zero on so many different levels. Yes. But I emerged from that space with this blueprint that I literally have been utilizing ever since then, and where I can go and check in with myself. Maria, where are your goals? Where are you emotionally? Where are you financially? Where are you with your relationship with your family members, in your love relationship, in your spiritual relationship, in your career path, in your professional financial space? And I'm able to utilize that blueprint, that life, as I call life map, live your freedom every day. And so when I started sharing bits and pieces of it and it actually was on Facebook, everyone said, do you have an e-course? How do I, do this, because I need this. And so I created an e-course called My Amazing Life Map. And then it's very comprehensive. It's amazing journey, walks you through the reality checking, the self-assessments, the goal setting, the vision boarding, all those things that kind of meld in, and you can see the connection and how the dots connect in every aspect of your life. And so I created that and started marketing, kind of a soft marketing. And then, but one day I just placed a call to a gentleman. Everybody knows George Fraser. I placed a call to him one day, and just out of the blue, because I wanted to reconnect. And he says, well, I'm a part of this movement called the $1 Million Baby. I said, okay, what is that about?
Mm-hmm.
And and the more I learned, I realized that, there was this need to focus this huge unmet need within our communities around the understanding of life insurance and how it can help to, number one, help you with financial security, obviously, with retirement planning, because I never even considered that. And then also, obviously, with intergenerational wealth creation. And I got really excited. And it was like interesting because, you just don't go to bed, oh, I want to be an insurance broker. Nobody says that. It's probably one of the most unsexy things that anybody could ever do.
It's very unsexy.
It excites me to help families who are uninsured, underinsured, and I also say misinsured, because oftentimes we have things and we have it, but we don't really know what we have. And I have to, and what I'm discovering is that, first of all, we have just been so underserved within the Black community, and within communities of color. Let me just
and not educated enough.
Exactly, underserved
to close that generational financial gap.
Exactly,
you gotta have those kitchen table talks.
Exactly.
I never had that talk with my family.
So I didn't even understand it. Now, I was always one. I always had insurance, and I had a living trust. I was one of the ones a little bit maybe ahead of the curve a little bit.
Okay,
but I still didn't understand what I had, to be honest with you, because I just kind of knew I needed it, but I didn't know what I had, and it wasn't permanent life insurance. And so when I became a student of it, I said, this is like really powerful, because if you think about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The very bottom is security.
Foundation.
Foundation. And so often we're putting the cart before the horse, and we are, kind of moving in this lane and moving in that lane, but we don't have that foundation piece together to help protect all the work and all the sweat and the energy and love that you're putting into growing your estate, or growing your wealth base. And so you have to have that protection in place as well. And that's something that is not talked about really too much at all. And so that is just like my mission that's my mission, my calling is to help more families understand what it is that they need, what they have, and how it can be leveraged to grow other things and, to grow other aspects, and to really create, because the studies have shown that it's going to take the African-American community within America 300 years to close the wealth gap. 300 and that's years. Provided we're taking baby steps. And so now there's this whole other realm of public policy and laws and, the things that need to be done from the kind of the national and state and local level, what have you. But then there's a whole list of things that we can be doing within our own homes and within our own businesses to help to get that to start filling those gaps. And so that's the I'm going to stop, because then you probably have a host of questions and I have other things to talk about. But that's what my mission is, really to help, and to help women, especially because it's my heart space, empowering women of color, to help women especially to understand, but to help how to have the conversations with the men in their lives, because I find that the men are kind of sometimes blocking because they have other goals, they have other things, they want to buy a motorcycle, a sports car, but then not be life insured, and so it's just about, how do we have those loving conversations? How do we open up the door to, open up our minds and, and
especially since as women, we tend to live longer.
Oh, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
We live longer, but also, there's a pay gap, right? And so we don't have the same earning power. So we already have kind of two things that are
working against us,
helping to widen that wealth gap, our earning power, as well as the fact that we live longer. And so we have to understand what's the requirement, what it's going to take in order for us to have our money outlive us, as opposed to us outlive our money.
Well, the reason I wanted to interview you is because I'm one of those women that procrastinated, felt intimidated by the conversation, didn't know the right questions to ask. I've been self-employed for 35 years. And the more I interacted with women, I pointed out the very thing you just said, is that here I am teaching you about goals and your aspirations, but you don't have a solid foundation. And so not only do we need to get healthy in our physical body, but I realized we had to get financially healthy. And because I wasn't an expert in that area, I kind of shied away from it. But in the past, because of the pandemic and before that, I said, you know what? I'm going to start having some courageous conversations with these women and be vulnerable to admit the areas where I lack knowledge, but I need to ask these questions. And so many women would say to me, Jewel, you're right. I had to be more assertive and have my husband sit down and get a financial plan and ask where important papers are. They didn't know where anything was. And I realized I tapped into something that, and usually as teachers like myself, we teach what we need to learn. And I needed to learn these things myself. And so I love your acronym, Live Life Every Day, which is that's the name of your financial services.
Well, my money life is Live Your Freedom Every Day.
Oh, Live Your Freedom Every Day. And you certainly do have more freedom when you have more dollars. Oh my God. Yeah. And so even though I'm still teaching empowerment, you're also teaching empowerment. And what happens is, as women, we grow up with a fairy tale, and the fairy tale pans out, and then we become a cautionary tale. And it's like, listen, beware, watch out.
Exactly. And the millennials saying, okay, boomer. I said, let
me tell you something.
Every error in judgment or every misstep or whatever, we've lived it, 1,000 times over.
So we want to pass it along.
Exactly.
And I'm in my 7th decade now. So, you have to overcome the regrets and the shame and the procrastination and say, what can I do now? So I don't know who's watching and what age you are now. And I don't know who this message is for now, but I believe that it's never too late to get the knowledge and start making financial wise decisions, because the reality is, in my family, I have elders that live to be 100. 2 of my mother's sisters, one is living now, she's 100, and the other one was 101 when she passed. So that means I could live another 30 years, Maria. It's in my DNA.
I know. And
I'm in the same. What will be the quality of my life if I don't start making some hard decisions now to make my life easier? Because it seems like it's going to be hard, but the results is what we have to focus on.
Yeah. And I've supported and have worked with clients in their 20s, actually even in their teens, and children. Okay. All the way upwards of, I got a call from a client who said, I'm about to turn 70, and what I hadn't factored into the equation is that my term life is going to term out. It's going to disappear, and I'm not going to have any insurance. And I still have a whole life, a lot of life ahead of me. And so I was able to support him as well. So we're talking about from, 7 months, literally, because I've done quite a few. And that's the $1 Million Baby piece of it that we can talk about. But and then upwards of, as long as your health is you're reasonably healthy. You don't have to be like stellar. But the other part of it is, let's just have a conversation where you don't know what the outcome is going to be. We don't know I literally, thought that a client was going to come in at a standard rate, and she actually was upgraded to preferred plus,
Wow.
and, and so you just don't know until you get in there to start having the conversations. And let me do the work for you, because I'm an independent broker. So I don't represent just one product line. I represent the entire universe of different insurance options, carriers. And I go and I take your details and I go and shop it, literally. I go and shop.
You got to do some shopping for me, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that thought in terms of insurance, just, for death insurance, funeral services and things like that. And we have to think beyond that. And that's why I wanted to have you today to just kind of open up someone's mind today and say, you know what, I'm going to overcome the shame. I'm overcome the embarrassment and the procrastination. And I'm going to start asking some questions. I'm going to call Maria and I'm going to ask some questions. So do you charge for a consultation just to get started? How does it work?
No, you have to push the button and select a date and time for us to connect.
Okay.
We can do it by phone or we can do it by Zoom, but you got to push the button. You got to set that appointment up and you got to show up for it. So
right.
If you're married, you need to show up with your husband, because that then if I'm only having a conversation with a married woman, I have to have the conversation with the man too.
At the same time.
If the buy-in is not there, then it's really kind of tough, because we need to have a conversation as a family.
What kind of questions can we expect?
Well, certainly the basic stuff, your age. I do have to ask, your height and weight, because I want to get a feel for, your height and weight. You have any medical challenges? What if you're on any medications? Give me the names of them. I write them down, because there's, we don't hide anything. Do you smoke? Basically, do you smoke tobacco? I do kind of ask you to smoke a little cannabis too now these days. I start asking.
And then with the pandemic, has that changed your inquiries, and has it changed? How has it affected the insurance industry?
Well, I tell you, there are far more people. It has slowed underwriting a little bit, because there are more people that are out there saying, they realize that, life is even less guaranteed than it was yesterday. Right. And so more people are actually seeking insurance. I don't know how that pans out for the African-American community, but certainly globally, there's just more people out there getting life insurance policies. And so, which is great news, of course. Has it changed? I mean, I literally just got approval from someone. She had a pretty serious case of COVID.
That's what I was going to ask. What about, do you have to have a test to make sure you don't have it?
Typically, if you're in really good health, and based upon your interview, I'll tell you about the interview in a bit, but if you're in really good health, I typically try to see if I can bypass the home exam that, they come out, take your blood pressure, take your urine and all that. Try to bypass that. But for the average person, particularly if you're a little older, you probably, you'll have to have that, most likely have to have that home exam. Keep in mind too, because there are companies and people that tout, exam-less insurance. The trade-off of getting insurance without an exam is that you're going to pay more for it.
You pay more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I would say just push past the fear and let's just see where things land, rather than trying to crystal ball and predict where you think things are going to land. Because, a lot of, I'm getting notices every day, from the insurance companies saying, we've kind of relaxed our diabetes requirements, so they're.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they're just kind of being reality checking with, who we are as Americans, and so, but I would say just don't crystal ball. Don't try to predict. Don't try to, I'm going to lose weight first, before or I'm going to, just go ahead, but the thing is that you wait until you're a year older and your whole, everything could change, you're a year older. So you're going to have a little, you're going to get a little less insurance for possibly a little bit more money. So that's it. And so you do, so the questions are, and then I have to have an idea of what you can afford, what's going to be meaningful for you and what's going to be manageable for your budget. So it has to be meaningful as well. So for whatever reason, bless our little hearts, we think that we can come into the table no matter what age we are, no matter what, and say, I want to pay $50 for it. It's like this magical number.
Right.
And it's like, let's, first of all, that's not going to buy you any insurance, not very much. It's going to buy you some term potentially, but we have to look at your full profile. Are you a homeowner? Do you have young children at home? Are you single? Are you married? Are you planning to have a family? What is your savings? I had to ask these questions. What does your savings look like? What does your credit card debt look like? Because if there's someone who has like really, I'm like, I shouldn't even say this because somebody is going to say, I'm not going to make the phone call, because it's all about debt income ratios. So you're kind of calculating that in your head a little bit, and to get an understanding of where someone really is. And so I've actually sent someone away and said, let's work on your credit card debt first, because you don't have enough income right now, versus someone who has credit card debt and, they're paying off a wedding, for example, but their combined income is close to $1 million, and so every situation is different. And so we just have to have the conversation in order to know where things stand and what's doable for you.
But the benefit is so much better. And
the benefits, first of all, starting I've actually written probably more business with millennial age people, singles even, than ever before
That's great.
in this past 3 months. And because there's so many millennials in that age group that get it. And then they also have a parent potentially that gets it. And so they're, kind of working together,
right.
But they understand that what the value of this, getting something now while you're still young and healthy, relatively healthy, while you are, you don't have a whole lot of overhead and a lot of expenses going on. You have the power of exponential growth in your favor, because now this money, if you're getting a permanent policy, which is what I recommend for young people, is go ahead and get your permanent policy now, that you have the benefit of it accumulating and growing exponentially, that cash. And that bank is literally a place where you can go to pull money, borrow money from. You don't have to qualify. You don't have to put up the collateral. You have to either choose to pay it back or choose not to. It's the kind of, I'm kind of boiling it down to really lowest common denominator, but that's really basically how that works.
Yeah.
And
I just wish these type of things had been taught when we were in school.
And imagine children. Imagine your children having one. Now, so part of the caveat of having a policy for your child is that you have to have a policy for yourself. You can't have a policy for your kids and not for yourself. So we got to start with the parents first, and whatever that looks like, and then bring children to the fold, because we can get, really affordable permanent policies that they will have for life, paying like little of nothing in the scheme of things.
Let everybody know how they can reach you, Maria.
Yes.
How can they reach you to set up an appointment today?
Right. So one is you can DM me here on Facebook. You just send me a DM and I'll definitely answer back. My email address is maria@mymoneylife.com. You can send me an email. You can call me, text me at 619-750-8232. And so those are all the ways that you can reach out to me, and I'm available to, like I said, have a conversation. Don't fear it, follow through, and make it happen.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you sharing this very critical information so that we can be financially viable and stable and have some freedom and peace of mind and create generational wealth. I do want to kind of flip the conversation a little bit and talk to you as from woman to woman, sister to sister, just try to get a little inner view of you and speak to my wonderful audience. And those of you that are watching, remember to hit that share button. Hit that share button. I need you to hit that share button and let everybody know that we are on live right now. And if you missed the beginning of the show, it will be posted on my YouTube channel later on today. But please support a sister. Help us get this information out by hitting that share button right now. But Maria, I know you recently moved from San Diego to the LA area. How do you like it?
I love LA. I love being close to my daughters and to my grandson. My mom moved with me, so we're together, and we're literally walking distance, short drives away from.
Oh my gosh, you have quite a tribe.
Yeah,
quite a tribe. Your mom,
so that worked out really well.
And your two daughters and your grandson. Oh, that must be just.
That works out really well. And then just LA. Literally 2 months after I moved here, I attended this event called the United States for Women. And I was sitting in the audience, literally 6 rows from Michelle Obama, from Kamala Harris, from, from Jane Fonda. I mean, all these, these heavy hitters in the women's empowerment and political. I mean, every single one of them were on that stage. And I was like, wow, 5 rows away. And it's like that, that was my welcome to Los Angeles, So so I love it here. It's just really tough. Obviously, and this is everywhere we go, just seeing the level of homelessness.
I know, isn't it crazy? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Also, Maria, what books have you been reading?
Oh gosh, one I can't think of the name of the actual title of it, and it's sitting right on my bed. If I can go run and get it, but it's a sister by the name of oh goodness. It's literally escaping me. Ra Goddess or Goddess Ra. It's one of the. Okay. I'm not sure if it's Ra Goddess or Goddess Ra. But anyway, it's about your calling and understanding your calling, your truth, and a girlfriend gave that to me as a gift just recently. So I just started cracking it open, so it's not clicking in my brain. And then the other book that I'm reading, an audio book that I'm reading, is Activate Your Money. That one I remember, Activate Your Money.
Activate Your Money.
Yeah, and I'm reading that book because I'm a part of this organization of organizations that are centered around closing the gender wealth gap, closing the racial wealth gap, and it's just many organizations. And every time I jump on a call or Zoom or a conference, it's like, who's having a conversation about life insurance? It's such an integral part of it. Extremely important pay equity, extremely important wealth equity, extremely important health equity, extremely important, education equity. And there's so many people out there, that are focused on real estate acquisitions and stocks and bonds and those and all that, which is all great, in terms of portfolio building. But sometimes there's a disconnect for some reason from the need or not need for life insurance. And that's what protects all that stuff, because what you don't want to happen is have all, you've accumulated all these assets. And number one, untimely death. Okay. Mm-hmm. Your income has to be replaced. Mm-hmm. Your family may or may not want to manage income property.
That's true.
The market may be in a downturn. So if they're forced to sell, they may even sell at a loss or break even. You just don't know what you don't know because there's so much outside of your control. What you can control, what you do know is if I die, this is how much money my family's going to get tax-free.
Tax-free. Wow.
Plain and simple, And there's the other part to that is that with the permanent life insurance policies, you have a living benefits rider inside of that. And so in the event, because so often, we all know, we oftentimes get sick and injured before we die. Mm-hmm. And so if it's, the living benefits rider allows you to, for qualifying, they have to use that term qualifying, but critical, terminal, chronic illnesses or injury, you may be able to tap into your death benefits while you're still living.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people don't realize the value of that piece of it. Yeah.
Okay. So most of the books you're reading now about financial.
Well, I'm reading. Well, oh yeah, I was the financial one I'm
I'm
reading
just
right
curious
now.
what are some of your staples. Like I have certain books that stay right in my view that I just keep going back to. Are there any particular books that are your foundation that you keep going back to that give you life?
Yeah, you know what? I certainly, definitely the kind of the four agreements. I always go back,
Yeah,
back to
the four agreements.
the four agreements. Yeah,
Yes.
I go back to there. I recently read, and I couldn't put this book down. It was part of a book club, and I read the book so fast that I never even participated in the book club because I couldn't put it down. But I read a book. It was fiction, but not fiction. It was by Octavia Butler, and she wrote this book. It's a sister who's a science fiction writer, and it was the parable of the sower, and it was written in 1988. I mean, in the 1980s. Excuse me, not 88, but the 1980s. And she literally talked about what was happening in the moment with the past president we had in office, and the messaging that was out there about all those things that were happening during that time when we had the other president in office. She wrote about it in 1980. It was in this book. And the level and what was happening with not just the homelessness, but what was happening with the dynamics of people and their interactions with one another. All this stuff was like we were living and breathing it at the time. I just messed up my hair, but I had this happen like doing this with my hair. It's like, oh, this little thing is sticking up over here, and then trying to figure out the camera which side.
Our own personality. Let me switch over to any health practices that you have. We talked about wealth. What are you doing for your self-care, and what are some of your health practices that you recommend?
I've always have been a healthy eater. I have rarely, if ever, in the longest period of time, eaten pork or beef and very little chicken. I do like fish, and I do heavy up on vegetables. And so when I make a plate, it's like half veggies.
It's full of color,
it's all colorful. So it's like 2/3 vegetables. And part of that was inspired by this book that was written many years ago. It was a Black woman's physician, and she wrote about eating for your blood type. And I happen to be
I remember that.
Yeah, I happen to be A positive, and so they said A positive are really supposed to be vegetarian. And so I try to eat as close to that as possible, but it's, I do get my protein. I love my protein through nuts and seeds primarily, and through, I do eat fish. Occasionally I'll eat chicken, but mostly through nuts, seeds, and fish. And,
well, I was so glad to have you and your mom on our recent Woman on the Grow Amtrak train ride.
That was so much fun.
Santa Barbara. It was so much fun. And you were so sweet. You gave all of our guests a sample of your essential oils, which I've always had essential oils in my home. I have them all over the place. And then you gifted me with your particular brand of oils. Thank you so much. I have on some now. I use I'm partial to lavender and peppermint, and I just want everybody to know that you have those available also.
Yeah, and I remember years ago you used to put a little drop on your tongue. I remember that. Yeah,
I still teach that because whether you're nauseated or have a headache or you're tired, sleepy at the wheel, man, that's an instant pick me up. So I wanted everybody to know that that's one of your self-care practices is using essential oils. So so can you get that on your website?
Absolutely. I have you can get it through my Amazing Life LYFE site. There's a shop button there, but you can also go to Zen Life, and it's ZYNLYFE. You can go there as well. They're all connected, so you can get the essential oils. It's a set of 6 therapeutic essential oils, and but I also have a diffuser, and I also have a undated daily planner and guided journal. That it was actually, and I'm gonna talk about the e-course because I didn't talk much about that, but I took the workbook from the e-course and made it into a journal, and so you can actually purchase. Oh, there it is on my Like
Yeah, you gave me one too.
Yes. And so you can purchase that as well. But so the other thing that's been really, that's coming, that's really clear and needed, I think where I'm going to marry all of my brands is we're coming off of kind of sort of a pandemic, because it's still it's starting to re-up again, which is, so we still kind of have a lot of the same concerns, but we're coming off of, how to manage that, and really a new lease or new look on how we want to live our lives, with greater intention, with greater focus, with greater harmony, putting things in priority. And so what I have a program that I'm launching in December called 22 Days to 2022. And it is unlimited lifetime access to the e-courses, alternating days, because we're going to do this as a group. We can do it together. So there'll be the days that you kind of work on your own, right? To work on your life map, your blueprint. And then on alternating days, we'll jump on Zoom. Might even be what's this new place, this new one you just recommended. But we'll jump on. Yeah, we'll jump on the platform together. And in the morning, in the afternoon, you can jump on one or the other or both, where you have mentoring and sister friendship and community building, celebrations, sharing, Q&A. And where you will emerge is what has guided me, and what's been extremely helpful as my anchor for my entire life is a life map, a blueprint that serves as your beacon, your starting point, your foundation piece for understanding your what's important, what's critical and top priority for you in your emotional well-being, in your financial well-being, in your, in all 12 areas of your life, and how you will move about in 2022 with a heightened sense of self-awareness, which is extremely important, a heightened sense of intention, a heightened sense of activation, the desire to activate and to really, because we've been kind of a little bit, we've been moving and grooving. That's no question about that. But we've also been it's been a little bit with precaution, because not quite knowing, because so now we have an idea. We have a better idea, like what's going to happen with our children, our schooling,
Yes.
Because I was right there with my grandson, supporting him in virtual learning. I called myself the co-teacher, and that was a lot of work. I can't even imagine if you have more than one child, just trying to keep him awake, much less learning and everything. And so it's really shifted the way we view society and view systems that are in place and institutions and the level of care and consideration and all those things that we have to kind of, and we got a lot, those of us who were kind of on top of it got a lot of support because there were a lot of grant monies and loans and all of that. But a lot of people didn't, and so, and they were on the front line. It's like, I'm on the front line, risking my life every single day, and I'm making 56 cents on a white male's dollar. Like, what's that about?
What's that about?
What's that about? Right. Yeah. And so we have to, we have to fight the good fight, in terms of our leveraging our power of voting and all those things. But we also have to fight the good fight within our families and with our own minds and our hearts, and taking it, and taking that a harder look at, what's real. I was talking to one family. They did get insurance, but they didn't get they haven't gotten the permanent yet. But when we started talking about their expenses, they were spending like $400 or $500 on Uber Eats. That could buy a whole lot of life insurance.
Ooh, wow.
And we have to kind of rethink that, because we're making our lives more convenient, which I get the importance of that, of the convenience aspect of it. But we do have to also look at, whose retirement do I want to fund, theirs or mine? Whose intergenerational wealth do I want to fund, theirs or mine? And so if we start kind of looking at it from that perspective, not to just cut and live frugally and cut and not have a joyful life. I'm not saying that at all. Uh-huh. But putting it in your perspective and just asking the hard, the real hard questions. And then knowing, because the other part of the life insurance game is just actually knowing what you have, because oftentimes people really don't know what they have. They just get it and they don't know what they bought into, how long it's going to,
Yes.
what it's going to provide for. And one family, we have a policy. And I said, take it out and and see how far it goes. And they said to age 95. I said, what if you lived to 96? All of that goes away,
Yeah, this conversation accomplished what I wanted, and that was to shed a light on some things that we need to discuss. As a life coach, I know that when people come to me, they have to be transparent. They have to be an open book. Otherwise, I can't help them. And I know it can be very uncomfortable when people are asking you questions that will cause you to feel uncomfortable, that you are ignorant on some things, you procrastinate on some things, you weren't aware of some things, you've made some wrong choices. And it's the same thing with you. You're coaching us by asking us questions that we may not feel comfortable. We are ignorant on some things, and we need someone like you to push us forward into a financial stability. So I want to encourage everyone that is watching today, please be inspired by Maria Dowd. Don't let the uncomfortableness of this conversation cause you to block your potential for generational wealth for generations to come. Because I know for many years, I knew that we as a culture suffered in this area, and we would study other cultures that planned for 7 generations ahead, 6 generations ahead. And of course, we didn't get our reparations. We didn't get our 40 acres and a mule. But now we have technology. We've got books. We've got conferences. We've got Marias in the world to educate us and to elevate us so that we can overcome this poverty and struggle. I'm self-employed. She's self-employed. And it's a great freedom in that. But we have to also prepare for our future. We have to also think about our loved ones that we will leave behind. And so I thank you, Maria, for being with me today on my interview. And I invite everyone to reach out to Maria Dowd and ask the questions. And allow her to hold your hand through the process. And let's not be left out. Let's get the information, because when we get the information, we change the form of our lives. We change the bottom line of our economic wealth. So again, my sister, I salute you and I thank you. You are a trailblazer. You're a soldier for us right now. You're out there beating that drum. Like, come on, everybody, answer the drum call. Yes, and you're doing it in a different fashion. And I thank you so much. And you'll be getting a call from me and my husband, and we're going to sit down and figure this thing out.
Thank you so much. Okay.
And I appreciate you so much. And we're going to go back on another Amtrak ride back to San Diego, where you just moved from. But it's the fellowship that's going to be so much fun, where we're going to go to Shelter Island September the 18th. So tell your friends, Maria, and everybody that's watching, save the date for September the 18th. We're going to beautiful Shelter Island in San Diego on Amtrak.
I love it.
Everybody that's watching, remember, I have my websites, womenonthegrow.org, JewelDiamondTaylor.com, and theselfesteemdoctor.com. Self-esteem has a hyphen, the Self-Esteem Doctor. I send out newsletters every week. I have podcasts and videos on YouTube channel. I invite you all to be a part of what I'm doing with my ministry called Women on the Grow, where we send funds and we send books, and I offer coaching at no cost to women that are dealing with hardships like breast cancer, abuse, divorce, single parenting, those that are grieving, as I have experienced the grief of losing my son. I have an outreach to those that are in grief, women dealing with depression or trauma. We're able to reach out to them and offer them funds if they need it, if they're going through unemployment or caregiving. And we do that because we receive wonderful donations on our website, tax-deductible donations at womenonthegrow.org. Won't you be a donor and partner with us so we can be a part of the solution for our community? And one way we are part of the solution is educating And so I thank you, Maria, for educating us today.
This is a huge blessing. I thank you for the opportunity, Julie. You keep doing what you're doing, and you have my full following, my full support. And this is continue to love on one another and uplifting each other, and let's make these moves to close the gaps that exist today, that are pervasive and that exist today. Let's get them closed.
Amen. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for sharing the link. Thank you, Maria. God bless you.
Okay. God bless you.
Everybody, stay in the light.
Bye-bye.